Nav and Vihaan, you are here with us. Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. We've got Nav and Vihaan Agarwal of OneStepGreener, an NGO that they run in Delhi, here with us today. These two absolutely incredible children have won the Children's Climate Prize Award in 2019. It was an incredible honor that was bestowed upon them. And they've just finished their exams, and we are very happy to have got them at the right moment to have them talk to us on a topic which is most relevant today as far as sustainability is concerned. So we really have Gen Z talking to us on zero waste living today. Hi guys, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Hello Nav, how are you? Okay, so let's do quick capture here for everyone. How old are you guys today?
I'm 13 and he's 16.
Yeah.
I like how Nav has taken the lead on that to answer for you as Vihal. Good on you, Nav. Well done. And how old were both of you when you started with your NGO One Step Greener?
I was 14 and Nav was
11.
11, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's very young. What propelled you guys to start this journey? Where did it really start?
So originally it started with me just because at 11, Nav was really not really thinking about much. So so for me and him, we both have been, very avid wildlife lovers. We're both very into wildlife photography as well. So for us, from a young age, we've always had a special connect with nature and the environment. And because of that, we've also seen the problems of air pollution and other kinds of pollution, and as well as humans impact on the environment in a negative way. And we've always wanted to do something to change it. And for us, when the air pollution got particularly bad, at least for me, I suffered a lot through it because I have asthma and a lot of other respiratory problems, and because of that kind of um, prompted me to. And now we'll go over how exactly we started.
So as Vihaan said, that we always used to love nature and stuff. So in 2017, so the Ghazipur landfill, which is India's largest landfill, which is almost as big as the Qutub Minar, collapsed, caught on fire, and killed 2 people.
Right. So once that happened, when it caught on fire, at least for us, it was the pivotal moment when we realized that air pollution and garbage and trash have an interconnection, and they actually contribute to the air pollution. Garbage contributes to air pollution, which we previously didn't think of, because we would normally think, well, garbage only has like land pollution, it's piling up, or it's, letting out leachate, which is poisoning the water table. But we never connected it to air pollution as such. And that's when we realized that in order to solve the problem of air pollution, particularly, which we wanted to do for a long time, better than actually planting trees, which is a mitigating factor, we have to get at it from the source itself, which is garbage to a great extent, which is almost 20%, 20 to 30% of the air pollution in Delhi.
So you guys did go down to this site, right, where you'd actually seen heaps and heaps of garbage. And I think some of the images that I saw before from you guys was very startling for me as a person as well, because I don't think we necessarily really realize what our level of waste contribution really is. Can you describe for us what that feeling was when you walked into the site and what it was that you saw there?
So we were basically driving and we were going to see this landfill. And it was our first time ever seeing a landfill, or even we'd only seen landfills in like pictures or something or the other, but actually seeing it in real life. So like we were, I think, around 1 or 2 kilometers away, and we could see this big lump of trash. And personally, I thought it was a mountain. It was it was completely a mountain. It was a huge mountain, and we kept on going closer and closer and closer. And that same mountain, there were different piles of mountains, like there were different mountains in one site, and it was just waste. And then we were going in the car and we had proper masks and stuff, and the fumes, and when we just saw the amount of waste over there, and they were rag pickers, they were children, they were dogs, they were birds. It was just like a big realization which just hit us.
Because it was like literally a assault on the senses, because even with masks, even with the right procedures, the smell was absolutely unbearable. And then obviously the sight, as now described, was also completely different than what we thought. And to expect that we have 5 of those of varying sizes in Delhi, it, uh, is something that's completely scary. It's very scary.
So that would have then been, like you described, an assault to the senses. It's had an emotional toll in that moment, and it's led to some form of realization. How did you guys reach the point from realization to actual action of deciding what you needed to do and about going ahead and setting up this NGO of yours? How did realization culminate into action?
So when the realization really struck to me, it was okay. Now that we have, now that air pollution is being contributed by trash and by garbage, how do I provide less fodder for the fire, essentially? So I don't want my own waste to go to the landfill and become fodder for the fire. So with that reasoning, I did a lot of research. Now helped me with the research, and we found out that the best possible in all the world, according to all the tried techniques, the first step to actually reducing the amount of waste that you're actually sending out of your house is to first segregate your waste at home. That means that you have to separate your dry waste, your wet waste, and your hazardous waste.
So the dry waste is basically all of your stuff, which is you have metal, you have e-waste, you have glass, you have plastic, you have paper, you have cardboard. All of that is your dry waste. Your wet waste is all the waste which basically comes out of your kitchen. So all of the foods, the fruits, the dairy products, all of those are the wet waste. And the hazardous waste is the waste which is normally the medical waste, basically, or normally the medical waste, which is toxic and you can't really recycle it.
So once we identified that, I started off with my own room. I set up 4 different dustbins in my room, and I segregated my waste as best as I could. Then went ahead and started in my own house. First, once we did that and we started, collecting the dry waste, obviously the wet waste, we found out composting solutions, which was like, there was this tumbler that we use right now for composting. But for dry waste, we didn't know what to do with it, because we did not want to give it to the informal sector. We did not want to give it to kabadiwalas, because okay, they might be paying for it, but is the waste actually getting recycled? And from our research, we got to know that that's actually not happening, because there's so many leakages in the process. For example, if I give, for example, paper to a kabadiwala or to the informal sector, what really happens is that paper, when the prices drop as a result of imports, they sell it to the shoe and bag industry because they're paying more. So that's not really recycling. That's just putting it into a product and selling it. And then once you've got a shoe or bag, you just take out the paper and you throw it in the dustbin. So for us, the whole thought process was, we want to extend the life cycle of the product. We don't want to, just keep it like a linear economy or a linear cycle. We want to make it a circular cycle.
So basically what Vihaan's trying to say is that when we send it to the shoe and bag industry, the life cycle of the waste reduces. But what we want to do is
we want to increase the life cycle of the waste. And more than that, that was obviously one reasoning to it. But also when we started storing the waste, it piled up so much. It was like a mini mountain in our house. So that was also a realization that in a month, we're contributing so much. And from that, we started looking for people who would take that waste from us and then actually recycle it. And we didn't find many. We found 1 or 2, but then we found their practices weren't really as eco-friendly as they claimed it to be. And that's when we decided to, start our own thing, start at least getting our waste to a responsible source. But that's when we realized that a lot of the recyclers and the aggregators, the big ones, the ones who do it responsibly, they don't take waste from individual households, because that's just not enough. For an individual household, you're producing maximum to maximum 20 kgs of waste a month, right? Now, for a recycler, they need, of paper alone, they need 10 to 20 tons. So we decided that let's get everyone together. Let's see, because we thought we weren't the only ones who were facing this problem. And we sent out WhatsApps to everyone in our colony and got everyone together and slowly started, getting the quantities required. And with this particular company. And then afterwards, we decided to do our own thing, because they weren't really servicing it properly. There were issues with GST. There was this issue, there was that issue. And that's when we started our own thing, where we got a warehousing facility. We have a one of a kind center where people can come and drop off their waste. We have a warehouse there, and then we have our own logistics facility. So not only are we taking the waste from people's homes, we're paying for that waste, we're taking it to our warehouse, micro-segregating it, aggregating it, and then sending it to proper recyclers.
I think you touched upon something very important out here. You were just mentioning that there are a lot of people out there that claim that they are recycling products the right way, and that there was a fair amount of work that was undertaken by you out here to really see whether people are doing what they're saying they're doing or not. So can you share with us a little bit more in terms of when you reviewed these practices of these other people, right? What is there a big difference between claim that is really made versus the actual end execution of recycling? And why recycling, as you were just saying right now, has been such a challenge in our city and in our country at large, but even let's talk about Delhi for now.
So a lot of manufacturers, a lot of companies would say that, yeah, you give us your waste, we'll recycle it. Normally what happens is that at the end of the day, they're not non-profits. They all want to make a profit out of that waste. So normally, instead of selling to people who have PCB certificates, which is Pollution Control Board certificates, and they're authorized by the government. And when a specific factory gets that certificate, they start charging less for the waste. And now these companies are selling it to the to new factories, or to factories which don't have these PCB certificates. So they're getting more, so they're selling it for more, and those factories essentially may not recycle it properly. A lot of the waste might be dumped into the streets and stuff. So, I mean, there is a big difference between claim and the action they're doing.
And more than that, I think in India, what's more prominent is the informal sector, where we have our rag pickers, we have our kabadi walas. And what we thought of was really, one, we're being unfair to them. We're not giving them living wage. We're not giving them, for that matter, we're not even giving them minimum wage. We're treating them with the most utter contempt. They come into our waste, we treat them so badly. Then, there's the problem of them living in the landfills, essentially, because no one else wants to house them, or no one wants to give them shelter. So, all of these problems, what we thought of, and also obviously when we give the waste to them, there is a degree of leakage, like we talked about as well. So what we thought of was that, one, we have to make our process as transparent as possible. Also, we have to find the people who are willing and actually able to recycle it properly. So I think from the get-go, from the beginning of our organization, that was the goal. And once we set on that goal, we were willing to take lower prices. We were willing to go into a loss, because it is important to us that the waste actually does get recycled. It's not important to us that we're making money from.
Right. And also in terms of, this is a topic where a lot of people don't necessarily understand what segregation really means, properly, in terms of dry waste and wet waste, and dry waste being of so many different kinds. So I'm sure there's been a lot of education that has been involved in this entire process. And I know that when you signed up with our colony as well, you guys had come down and there was a residential meet and you presented out there. So what has been the sort of learning that you've had from that space, and how many places have you really gone gone and pitched? How have you really taken this message outside to educate everyone on how they can manage their waste?
So normally what we try to do is we try to, the RWA or someone from that particular colony. We ask them if they can either ask the RWA, or we can come to their home and they can invite the other residents in their home. And when they come, we'll actually explain to them the importance of waste segregation. We'll teach them how to segregate the waste, and also if you segregate your waste, what happens, like, you get money, plus you can see the change in your own house. Like if you're keeping your waste in your house and you're segregating it and you're keeping it, every day when you look at the amount of waste which is in your house, you'll actually start reducing it. And so we've seen a lot of households starting to reduce their waste after seeing how much they actually produce.
So as Nav talked about, we actually, initially our approach was very WhatsApp oriented, because everyone's on WhatsApp. So we used to send WhatsApps and we used to create WhatsApp groups, and we still do that. But, and we obviously went for physical presentations, we went for melas, we went to, wherever we got an opportunity to speak, to tell people about the real problem that exists and to tell them about our solution, we took that opportunity and we went ahead. Now, in the later part, we've realized as the organization has grown that the real power in reaching a lot of people is social media. And that's what we've pivoted towards through our Instagram, through our LinkedIn, through our Twitter, through our Facebook. We've reached a lot more people through that. And that's what we're focusing on now. And as Nav talked about, we look for, in a particular area, we look for an area lead essentially. So a person who becomes champion for that particular area and takes, liaisons with us, because we believe that the person who actually lives in their colony has a better and wider understanding of the people living in that area than we do. And that's what we rely on. So preferably we prefer children, because it's much, they're more proactive and they have time and they can do it. And that's why we have almost 20 volunteers now who are helping us do this. So another very important thing we learned was that not everywhere, obviously, you will get success. Not everywhere people will be receptive to your ideas. So we're operating in 13 colonies now, but we've definitely talked in over double of that.
Amazing. How young is your youngest champion?
So I think it's Ayan Mukherjee. He's, I think, 5.
Yeah.
5, yeah.
That's
5.
amazing. And how old is your oldest champion?
Oh, it's you, right?
No, not. No, I'm talking about like even adults. Do we count adults?
Absolutely, adults as well.
I don't know. I think about 50 or 60. We have some.
I asked you this because I saw some really lovely lady and this really adorable young child as well speaking on your Instagram page about what they really feel about recycling. And I thought it was the sweetest messaging ever, because it's also so real, right? It's putting real people in front, talking about real issues more than anything else. Okay, so let's recap. So OneStepGreener today is doing recycling and collections that you're making across colonies. And then you're also very big on tree plantation. That's another one of your causes that you're currently supporting. And I believe there's a park that you're maintaining already in Vasant Kunj.
What we actually, when we started this off, are, with air pollution, always the goal is to plant trees, right? That's the mitigating factor. That's how you really solve. And everyone knows this. It's an indisputable fact. So taking that into account, we thought our waste management project is targeting it at source, right? So we're really hitting at the place where the air pollution is being created. But we also need a solution, an immediate solution, because this will take time. So we need an immediate solution which sucks in this carbon dioxide, which sucks in all of these air pollutants and actually gives us clean air now, because, we can't wait forever, right? So that's when we started our tree plantation project. Now, our tree plantation project, as Nav will tell you more about it, is focused on the premise that we're not only doing tree plantations where we'll plant trees in be done with it, or we'll plant non-native trees. We're planting native forests or groves inside urban cities, and now we're looking at forests outside urban cities as well as a barrier, and really to act as carbon sink.
So,
disgusting it is.
Sorry. Yes. Go ahead. Sorry, one second. I'm just going to mute the person. Yeah, please carry on.
Right.
yeah. So for our tree plantations, what we're actually doing is we are trying to. So right now, what we're doing is we're doing urban afforestation. So in cities and in colonies, which have a lot of houses, they barely have any green cover. What we try to do is we try to get these parks, small parks, and we plant as many trees as we can. All of them are native trees, and these trees we take care of them for 3 years. And so that 3 years we're watering them, we're getting the malis who help them over there, we're getting sticks to hold them upright, we're doing the fencing, we're doing, if there's one tree which dies or something, we have to replace it. So
But,
all of those,
so surprisingly, fortunately, we've had 100% survival rate as of now.
That's incredible. And that's like unheard of, because usually they say it's apparently 25 to 30% of a survival rate.
Right. So we have
amazing
survival rate as of now for our first tree plantation, which we did 300 trees for, in an area which a lot of people believed only 100 trees could be planted. And now we've planted 300, and they've reached a significant height as well. So this year we did 1,000 tree plantation in one huge park, the Vasant Kunj Park in Delhi, and we've planted them in groves. So not all together, but in groves, so that there's biodiversity hotspots all over the park, and there's more pollination, etc., that occurs all over. And another thing we are doing is we're doing biodiversity studies, and we're doing carbon studies along with that, so that we can actually see the impact of our actions with city.
That's amazing. So I want to know more about how this incredible prize that you both were given, and congratulations for that. Tell us a little more about how the Children's Climate Prize in 2019 came to be, and when you first heard about it, the experience, and please lead us all the way up to Sweden and tell us what that experience was like.
So basically, when we actually never knew about the Children's Climate Prize, there was this one man from Sweden, and Children's Climate Prize every year on their social media and stuff tells people to nominate people from different countries and stuff. So there was one man from Sweden who had actually sent us an email, said you should really sign up for this, it's great. And till then we never knew what Children's Climate Prize was. We said, okay, fine, let's just do it, let's just give it a, even though we know that we're not going to get in, we're not going to come in the top 10, we just know it, let's just give it a try. So time passes, and then we get a top 5 mail, and we're like, oh my god, we made it to the top 5. We actually made it to the top 5, and we were just so happy. We were like, not in our wildest dreams would we ever think that we would actually be getting the award, because there was
close to it at all.
Because there were people. There was one boy who got into MIT. There was one people who were reusing waste oil for transportation. So we thought we had no
all
chance.
Very, very cool projects. And we've obviously talked to them now, and we're looking at synergies between them as well. So yeah, we were really surprised when we got to the top 5, when we got nominated to the top 5. And when we looked at the projects, we were like, there's no chance we're getting this. Because
ये खोलो, मैं आपको एक Zoom है वो करो, छोटे बच्चों का इतना अच्छा.
Yes.
Between a year ago and now, when the Climate Prize was, our initiative has really gone up. Like, it's completely changed in scale. So we, at that point, we knew that it's possible for us to get this award, and then we did. We got the award, and to us, first thing they told us, currently, even if you haven't done as much, the scope for your project exists to such a great extent that we felt it necessary to do.
So actually, last year, I think Greta Thunberg was also shortlisted
The
for
year before that.
year before that for the Children's Climate Prize, and you know it was a very prestigious thing. We would win 100 donors, and and we were just like really excited. So we actually landed in the airport. We met the people who were hosting the Children's Climate Prize. They were one of the warmest and one of the nicest people we've ever met till this date. And you know, it was just a really great experience with them. We used to go to different venues where there used to be school children. Like I think one particular venue, there were 300 or 400 school children who were interested in the climate, and we talked to them over there. We had an interactive session with them, and we had these talks all around in Sweden. And we went to these companies who, you know, who were actually doing something about the environment, and we learned from them. And yeah.
And for me, the highlight was going to the Swedish Parliament, which was absolutely amazing as well. So, you know, for us to go to a country which has such a prominent climate movement, and for them to listen to us was, you know, very, very awe-inspiring, actually.
Yeah, and actually at the final event, so the venue was the place where the Nobel Prizes actually given. So we met, and over there there were like tons and tons of environmentalists. All of them had such great projects. Like all of them started at our age, and all of them have grown into something so big. And that night was a night which we like won't ever forget. It was just a lot of emotions, and yeah.
That's amazing. The picture that we actually used on our invitation was from the moment where both of you had received your prize, and you both are very proudly holding up the Indian flag as well. It must have been quite the moment out there, and I know that your parents were very, very proud in that moment as well. So, and as are we all. So that's absolutely amazing. And after coming back, you know, and now with your NGO shaping up a lot more and having more resources and volunteers, and, you know, you're talking about social media and stuff, this is at some level, I mean, of course, not for profit, but it's sounding like a business as well. And it has a lot of management behind it. Now, you both are in school. So how are you kind of managing your time and running this on the side as well with the kind of passion that you both have?
Right. So what we aim to do from the beginning itself, we realize that we are school children, we have other commitments, we have to go to college. So we have to create something that doesn't need us at the core of it. So that's when we created our model, which we talked about briefly as well, where we have a door-to-door pickup as well as a drop-off center. So people have the option to have a door-to-door pickup. Though we prefer a drop-off center so that, you know, there's less carbon actually from the truck going to different houses. We use a CNG truck. We use, you know, absolutely green materials, and we have a whole team of rat pickers and labor who were living on less than living wage, actually, who we've brought into the organized sector. We've given them a living wage. We've created a bank account. We've, you know, helped them, you know, have dignity in handling waste. So after that, we actually, once we pick up the waste, we take it to our warehouse, we micro-segregate it. Now, what that means is, in paper, you have shredded paper, you have crumpled paper, you have A4 size paper, you have A3 paper, you have, you know, multitudes of categories. So we sort that out in our warehouse. And as for our warehouse, we have a leakage, or, you know, a waste percentage of less than 2%. So less than 2% of the waste that comes into our warehouse is actually thrown away as it's contaminated or whatnot. And that's because we aim to teach people about segregation from the beginning itself. So, and we also don't pick up unsegregated waste. We take only segregated waste and clean waste for that matter. So once we get into our warehouse, we aggregate it. So we wait for the quantities to pile up. Once we have the necessary quantities, when we have, like for example, last month, we sold about 10 tons of waste of recyclable waste. And then we sell it to certified PCB certified recyclers, pollution control boards certified recyclers. And then from that, we also, some of the recyclers, we also create our products. So here we have like a poster, which you can put like on your fridge, or you can put on your door, which has the different, how to segregate.
Waste. So this has the types of waste and stuff. And all of this waste is actually out of the recycled material. So the paper which you're giving to us, we also make into these products.
So we're essentially creating a circular economy where we're taking waste and then creating products out of that, which we're selling back. So through it all, the whole process is now almost a zero cost, which is it's breaking even. And essentially, we're not putting any money in, or we're not taking money out of the process. The only reason we need donations, we need help, is one, for our tree plantation project, and two, for expanding outwards. And that's why we're also needed. Otherwise, throughout the team we've created, the whole process doesn't require any input from us.
Right. I mean, you're saying you're not taking money out and you're not putting money in, but eventually I feel that the impact that you both have managed to create is insane. I know there are some numbers in terms of, do you have any of those numbers on hand in terms of, with your tree plantation, the amount of oxygen, and it's that entire thing. If you can just break it down, because those numbers I feel are very relevant and important, and it just talks less, it's less about the impact of money, but more about the impact which is non-tangible, which is not seen by somebody, but is most relevant as well.
Exactly.
So right now, till now, we've recycled over 108,000 kgs of waste in over 1 or 2 years. We recycle over 1,000 kgs of waste, and just by recycling our waste, we've had enough energy to power more than 80,000 homes for a whole day.
Wow.
This just by recycling, we're not taking into account our tree plantations, but just by recycling, we can power the amount of energy we save. We've powered, as Nav said, 80,000 homes. Then water.
Yeah, right. So we've saved around, just by recycling, 14 lakhs of 14
liters of water, which is
14
about
lakh liters of water. Okay, so wow.
A million liters of water.
Million liters of water. Okay.
We've planted or planted or saved, I think, 3,600 trees as well. So there are a lot of other figures which you can see on our website as well. And we've, more than that, we've saved a lot of, almost 50 meters square of landfill space.
That's incredible, guys. Those numbers are amazing.
150. Sorry. Wow, it's just, yeah.
That's amazing. So tell us now, I want to know on this topic of zero waste living, right? And I mean, I for one feel that before we signed up with OneStepGreener and, had started recycling the same, much as I am a fairly conscious person, I'd like to believe, I still feel that there was so much that I did not understand and could not necessarily break it down to very easy steps of little changes that we can have in our everyday lives that can lead to really massive and big impact. So from all the learning that both of you have got, what is the kind of feedback you can share with us where we can make really small changes to our everyday lives but contribute at large to saving the environment and the planet?
So, I'm just going to break down the landfill for you. 50% of the landfill is normally your wet waste, which I explained was the kitchen waste. 30%
and your garden waste, sorry.
Yeah, and 30% is your recyclable waste, which is your dry waste, and there's 20% which is a hazardous waste. So now for this 50% compostable waste, what you can do is you can go to Amazon or any other website. You can find,
even on our website, we have a comprehensive composting guide, which you can download and print. And we also have resources where you can buy different
types of
composting equipment. We don't collect wet waste simply because there are issues with regulation. It's also very hard to manage, and there's obviously the issue of smell that occurs. So we prefer it if you, in your house, take care of that 50% of the landfill.
So,
and from our own house, we've been able, like, we now it's become very efficient, where two whole bags, like huge bags of compost we're creating in our house every month.
So let's just understand this. So composting largely happens from all the wet waste that is largely coming out of our kitchens. There's the nomenclature on how you manage that. And now composting bins that one can order online. And you basically keep it in a space where it's aerated and not becomes too smelly. And you basically,
Outside.
Yeah, keep it outside. Yeah. And then you basically make this compost, which is then again something that you can use in your own gardens and introduced right back into the soil. So again, there is that circular system that's running out here as well.
Then we have our 30%, which is the recycling waste, which we've talked about in detail.
So the best way to actually recycle the 30% is to sign up with organizations like us. We don't really know of other organizations in Delhi which do the same thing as us. But if you're somewhere else in India, you can find that. Or even you can start reducing your waste at home. You can refuse the waste straw.
So small conscious are very important. So like Nav talked about straws, plastic bags, for example. Also, when you segregate and start storing your waste at home, like Nav talked about, psychologically, you tend to reduce it. We've seen, especially with plastics, that we've had people reduce their consumption of plastics because we see the waste that comes to us by over 30% every month. So that really, obviously, zero waste lifestyle starts with your consumer choices, with then of course is how you dispose of the things that you create. So we realize that, there's a limit to where you can stop your consumer choices. Then there's necessities also that come in plastics and that come in papers, and that, and that's why we've created OneStepGreener. So that's your recycling waste. Then for your medical and your hazardous waste, which is the last 20%, the best solution for that is to send it to a facility which is authorized to incinerate it, because incinerators are meant for that 20%. In India, they work on all 100% of the waste, and that's why they're highly inefficient and they let out so many fumes.
So incinerators are actually supposed to help with the environment. So in countries like Sweden and stuff, they're obviously recycled and they've segregated it well. And when you send that 20% of waste, it actually gets incinerated, and there aren't those many toxic fumes or something because the incinerator's made for that. But in India, they put the wet waste, the dry waste, and the hazardous waste together, there's just going to be more pollution. It'll be more pollution than letting it rot in the landfill.
So if you have a significant amount of hazardous / medical waste, we recommend you give it to like a healthcare facility which has a hazardous waste disposal system. But there's nothing much that you can do with it. So essentially, there are two solutions for the hazardous waste. It's either to send them to landfills or to send them to incinerators. And if you have landfills only of that 20%, they become much more manageable.
Amazing. I recall that now there are options with websites, and I mean, a lot of people have been ordering online, and I think it's become even more prevalent today after the situation with all of us being in this pandemic and sitting at home. A lot of sites have started giving options on reducing plastic waste and on using recyclable solutions of packaging. And I know for sure that you've written to Amazon as well, demanding that they don't send you any form of excess packaging where not required. Why don't you tell us a little more about that experience that you had with them?
So what we realized is e-commerce has a very weird platform which encourages consumption, which we don't condone, but it encourages plastic consumption more than anything, and packaging consumption more than anything, which is problematic in its own sense, right? So we thought about, why don't we make this instead of an opt-in service, we make it an opt-out service, no, sorry, an opt-out service, make it an opt-in service, where we say that why don't you have a little text box which says that I want plastic packaging. As simple as that. And people who want that, they can just press the tick box, or they can't, or they don't. Yeah, like we wouldn't want that. So doing simple things like that for big companies who have a significant carbon footprint is really is the way to go in our sense. So we're working with organizations that do advocacy as well, and we are doing our own advocacy and our social media awareness as well, so that little changes like this, they add up.
Amazing. So for all those who are watching this live right now, your collection center is open and running, and even if the colony is not being serviced, but somebody would like to send through products for recycling, they can actually come and just participate and drop it off at the center. How does it work for someone who's new to this process? What is the process that they should follow?
So normally, so this is what we recommend. You have you have a cardboard box, and you can have a duffel. No, you can have another cardboard box or any other kind of container which can keep glass. So what you can do is you keep cardboards. You flatten your cardboard to keep it. You wash your bottles. So a lot of people, have this mindset that if the waste is out of our homes, it's not ours. It's the government's to deal with, and
Or it's someone else's to deal with.
So what you have to
clean the waste.
You have to segregate the waste, and by that I mean you have to wash your aluminum cans, you have to wash your bottles, you have to flatten your
You have to keep them separately from each other so that they don't mix up. And then we recommend that when you drop it off to our center, now with COVID-19, we have a whole system, we have a whole procedure. So you have to wear a mask, you have to show your Setu app, you have to get a temperature scan, then only can you enter the gate. Then you have to, there are different areas for different wastes, and you have to go and segregate it yourself. We leave the waste outside under the sun for 15 days while sanitizing it. And then only do we take it into our warehouse and then micro-segregate it. So we're taking all these precautions with COVID-19 as well. So to start off with, just start segregating, start separating your waste, start storing your waste. Once you have enough, once it's worth a car ride, don't just, if one piece of plastic, there's no need to go into a car and come all the way to the center. Just get enough so that it justifies the car ride, justifies the carbon expenditure, and then drop it off at a center. We're not going to pay anyone right now, just because cash is a huge problem. Then payment systems are very confusing. So we're not also charging for our drop-off service, our pickup services as well at this present time. So that's the one way that you can get involved as soon as possible. The second way is obviously volunteer with us. To go to our website, OneStepGreener.org. You have all the information there about us and how to get involved. And the third way is if you are if you know someone who is willing to take the waste, who is willing to, partner with us, like schools, offices as well, who want to give us waste, we would love that, and become champions in your own areas.
That's amazing. So I want to know, when you both are not working on OneStepGreener, what is it that you both like to do to unwind? Where does the passion really lie outside of sustainability?
So a lot of times we take pictures of birds. We do a lot of bird photography. I also play basketball and he plays football.
And I read a lot. I read a lot. And he loves playing video games.
And do you guys have disagreements when it comes to OneStepGreener, or is it all good?
A lot of disagreements.
We have to have disagreements, otherwise where's the fun?
How do you manage conflict resolution between you two young boys?
Normally it's, so if we have say we're talking, and so I come to his room, he comes to my room. We say, okay, fine, there's this problem if you're having OneStepGreener, and we both are not getting along with each other at all. Then sometimes our mother helps us out. She says, she tells us, okay, fine, calm down, it's fine. Just hear his point of view. You hear his point of view. This makes sense. That makes sense. So she kind of helps us,
We take advice from our parents as well, a lot, because, obviously it's all of their help. We take advice from our grandparents as well on certain things. So that really helps us. And also, when it's one step greener time, then it's very easy whenever you're doing something with your family to bring out other disagreements in it. So when it's one step greener time, nothing else. You cannot bring any other feelings on the table. You're only going to talk about one step greener, and that's the way we manage it.
That is pretty amazing. I want to ask you, my last question to you guys is, what is your message to us adults? What is it that we can do to help you with whatever it is that you envision for your future?
So the easiest answer for that, I would feel, is that accept your responsibility, because one, you guys have messed up the planet for us, and I'm not talking about just you specifically or anyone specifically,
Sure.
but collectively our earlier generations have really messed up the planet. So to accept your responsibility would be the first thing. Second thing is encourage projects like ours, because there are tons of other projects, there are tons of other movements, and just support in any way you can. Volunteer your time, mentor, help other people. Like you, Karishma auntie, have mentored us a lot. So do things like that, which encourage this change, really.
Amazing. I'm so grateful for your time today. Thank you. I am going to ask my Vice Chairperson, Ridhima Khanna, to just please come and share a vote of thanks. I am going to find Ridhima and unmute her. Right.
And I can't think of a better way to spend a Friday afternoon. I think we're all inspired by you two teenagers. I feel refreshed after this conversation, and I hope we can do a little bit of what you all are doing. At YFLO, we don't believe in cutting flowers. Rather, we plant a tree in your honor as a small gesture of our thank you. So Vihaan and Nav, one more tree each to that count. And let's just hope that you keep making this environment better, inspiring a whole lot of adults, teenagers. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys.